fluid breath. Notice if your breath goes mainly into your chest, into your front body, or if it's three-dimensional and you can invite it into the low back, into the back ribs, into the side bodies. And then begin to practice this breath, inviting it deep into the pelvic bowl. Inviting it to fill the circumference of your waist. And when you get up to those lowest ribs, just let go. Let yourself exhale. One of the biggest breathing issues in modern society is that we take too big, too strained of an inhale. So inhale, invite the breath to be three-dimensional, and then let it go. Inhale just up to that lowest circle of ribs. Feel for the waistline and that lowest circle of ribs expanding. Your back body expanding. You can think of it, Grace, like rising bread. Let your low back rise like rising bread. And invite the breath to slowly move upward, rib ring by rib ring towards your shoulder girdle, so that you're filling from pelvic floor to the top of the shoulder girdle. Feel for the breath rolling up your back body and expanding the ribs out behind you. And then releasing before the strain. Invite the breath up the side bodies. Let it release before the strain. Invite the breath to roll up the front body, lifting the sternum and inner collarbones, and release before the strain. And then let the breath fill you three-dimensionally. Remember that this three-dimensional inhale helps you to protect the spine. Create space around the spine. Now again, touch that palate with your tongue, that center palate, right in front of where your hard palate meets your soft palate. Let that hot air balloon lift you. And on your next exhale, blow out through pursed lips. And inhale. As you exhale through pursed lips, feel for contraction of your transverse abdominis, that corset muscle. And then soften and inhale. And then exhale, lift the front triangle of your pelvic floor. And soften and inhale. And see if you can lift that front triangle of your pelvic floor and draw your navel towards the spine and up along the front of the spine. And then as you're ready, you'll inhale, soften, open, and then exhale through pursed lips, lifting the pelvic floor, drawing the navel back in and up, and then soften, keeping a long spine, and inhale and fill. Move at your own pace, exhaling through pursed lips when you're ready, lifting that front triangle of the pelvic floor, not changing the shape of your lumbar curve when you activate your bandhas. We lift Mula Bandha, that front triangle. We bring the navel in and up the spine, but we don't change the shape of the spine. And then we soften and inhale with a long spine, like you could breathe cushioning in between your vertebrae. Let's take just a few more pursed lip exhales like you're blowing out through a little coffee straw. Feel how that activates your abdominals. And then soften and inhale. One more. Okay. Let's come to standing and see if we can keep those bonds as active as we work. So today, let's come to standing and begin with our hand weights. Now, if you have arm or shoulder issues, remember that you can use no weights. You can use lighter weights. And that you can always modify the movement of your arms. Okay. So we ground the feet, heels under sit bones, second metatarsals parallel, knees unlocked, and exhale. Hot air balloon lifts you from the center palate. Your hands come out to your sides and you pause. Let that hot air balloon lift you skyward. And then release. Inhale. Exhale through pursed lips. Lift the arms. Lift the pelvic floor. Lift the navel in and up. Don't change the shape of your spine. Take an inhale and an exhale here. And another exhale. And then inhale your arms down. Exhale through pursed lips and lift your arms. Inhale, slowly lower them. Exhale through pursed lips, pelvic floor lifts, navel in and up. And inhale, release. Now, keeping the spine as it is, let the head rest back. Let your heart be lifted without throwing the back ribs into the body, and float one arm up in front of you and float it down. The knees don't change. They don't lock back. The pelvis doesn't throw forward. We're just moving the arms. We don't jet the chin forward. We're just fluidly moving the arms. Four corners of each foot grounded. Lift your toes. Lift your arches. Lift your front triangle of the pelvic floor. Navel in and up. Head resting back. And then lift one arm and the other arm and take your left arm out to the side and bring it forward. Right arm to the side and forward. Notice if you want to lock your knees. If you do, micro bend them instead. Keep your pelvis centered up top your femur bones. We don't need to throw it forward. If you do, your hand weights are too heavy. Heart is still lifted. You can have your gaze at the horizon or at the mountaintop. Let the hands down and roll one shoulder and roll the other shoulder and just invite the body to be loose and open and float your arms back out to a T, palms up and bicep curl and release. Can you bicep curl and lift your lowest rib ring away from your pelvis, lengthening your waistline without locking your knees? Try to keep the elbows at the same height as the shoulder if that's possible. And then come back up, hands facing forward, and press. And open the elbows. Keep that low rib ring lifted. Navel in and up, front triangle of the pelvic floor. The head is not jutting forward. Now you can stay with this, just working arms, or you can lift to one toe and lower the toe and the other toe and lower. Lift and lower. Just do the toe at first. Keep the lift in the pelvic floor. Keep the navel in and up. Lift and lower and toe and lower, and perhaps the knee can lift. Can you stay attuned to the natural curves in your spine? To a gently lifting front pelvic floor triangle? To the navel there, in and up to support you. And release the arms and roll one shoulder and roll the other shoulder and roll both shoulders And bring your hands just in front of your torso. And inhale up a snow angel arms. And inhale them back down. Now you can stay with your arms moving on their own. Lift the front triangle of your pelvic floor. Navel in and up. Remember, this isn't at 110% of effort. This is activation without changing the shape of your spine. Hot air balloon lifts you from the center palate. And if you want to add the legs, take the left foot out and let it lift or almost lift as your arms snow angel. Fluid breath. Exhaling, navel in and up. Front of the pelvic floor lifts. Feel into keeping that low rib ring lifted because that's going to help you keep that waistline long. And release. Take the right leg out. Stand strong on the left leg and perhaps the right leg lifts. Feel into your arches of your feet, maintaining the arches of your feet. Four corners, grounding of the standing foot. And one more. Good. And release back down and roll one shoulder and roll the other and roll both shoulders and pause with your three-dimensional breath. Fluid breath. Okay. Then come to one side of your room and bring your arms up into your right angle. Humerus bone parallel to the floor. Knuckles up. Knees bent. Here's the side view. And we open and pause. Feel how the inner arches of your feet lift and close. And open and close. Inhale and exhale and inhale and exhale. Can you stay aware as you move of that lift of the front triangle of the pelvic floor? Feeling into the movement. Not going too fast. Remember, fast isn't what we're after. What we're after is, can I stay aware of gently lifting the pelvic floor, navel in and up, support of my spine as I move, getting our blood flowing a little bit. And then come back into center and release your arms and roll one shoulder and roll the other and put your hand weights down. Let's lift up our TheraBand. And let's come into the postural work again with the TheraBand over the top of the head like a scarf, far enough back that you can push up from behind your ears. Your chin should not jut skyward as you take your hands out. They're just gently weighting down on your TheraBand. Find the four corners of each foot. Lengthen up into the TheraBand. Tailbone grounds you, pelvic floor lifts, navel in and up. Let your head and hyoid bone rest back. Fluid breath. What does it feel like to lift that lowest rib ring away from the pelvis? Can you breathe into the back body even as you engage the navel in towards the spine and up? Really expanding the back by breathing deep, low back, middle back, upper back. And you can stay here, concentrating on the posture, or take your left foot out. Now really keep pressing up into your TheraBand, lifting your low rib ring, and lift your foot, and lower, and almost lift or lift, and lower, lift, and lower, strong into the standing foot. One more, and then stand on the other foot. Take the foot out, stand strong. Your hip of your standing foot hugs in. The pelvic floor lifts, that kind of contains the leg. And then press up into your TheraBand and lift and lower and lift and lower and lift and lower. Heart and inner collarbones lifting. Shoulder blades on the back. Good. and step down and release the TheraBand. And just notice how that pressure up into the TheraBand may change your sense of your body right now. Take a few fluid and deep breaths. We create space when we lengthen into something. It also accentuates our proprioception. So now bring your TheraBand around your low back ribs. And bring your hands forward, palms up, elbows by the inseam of your shirt. Okay, breathe into the low back ribs as you take the hands forward. Exhale, elbows come back to the inseams of your shirt. Inhale, into the low back. So resist the TheraBand pulling you forward. And release. Inhale. We really want to know these low back ribs because they can be a grounding point in the body to keep the low back safe. We don't want them to flare the front ribs forward and come into the back body all the time. Inhale and exhale. Likewise, we don't want to take them so far back that we round forward. So we have to find that natural curve, really lift at the sternum and the inner collarbones. Inhale and exhale. Now stay with that or lift to a toe and lower. Toe and lower. Stay aware of the four corners of the foot that's standing. Really work on developing that arch system. Inhaling and exhaling. Inhaling and exhaling. Then you might lift the knee. Inhale. Stay conscious of the low back ribs. Conscious of the four corners of your feet. Woohoo! We're building awareness in the body. Head rests back. Hyoid bone rests back. Beautiful. Now bring your TheraBand around front. Hold your right hand at your hip, left hand in front of the body. Now, Grace, you'll have to decide if this feels okay in your shoulder, okay? So you can modify if it doesn't. Breathe into the low back rib ring and take your left arm up at a diagonal. Broaden across your shoulder blades. Ground down from your hip pockets, your buttocks, into your heels. And feel into the strength across your torso. In this work, we're finding our back myofascial slings from the lifted arm shoulder blade across to the opposite buttock and down that leg. Release. Try the other side. Right hand forward, left hand on hip. Make the left shoulder blade solid on your back and then open the right arm. Find the right shoulder blade on your back. The front ribs do not flare. From the right shoulder blade, feel across to the left grounding leg and make that connection from right shoulder blade to left buttock to left heel. Back myofascial slings. And release. Okay, let's now come to our chair. Bring your ball in for a moment. And sit sideways on your chair. I mean, you don't have to sit sideways. I'm going to sit sideways to show you. Sit on your chair and bring your ball behind your back. Now, if you don't have a ball, you can put some kind of a cushion there for now, or a foam roller behind your back might work long ways, or a bolster. I want you to again breathe into the low back ribs. Now, ground your sit bones. Ground your tailbone, pubic bone, they're even. Gently lift the front triangle of the pelvic floor. Navel comes in and up. Boy, I hope you're feeling this internal work and you're trying to find where you don't do it at 110%, where it's grippy, because that's going to change the spine, but where you're able to, wow, activate these internal core muscles, which are stabilizers. Feel for that. This is good internal muscle work. And release. Take a deep three-dimensional inhale. Exhale through pursed lips. Lift the front triangle of your pelvic floor. Navel comes in and up along the front of the spine. Let the hyoid bone, that floating horseshoe bone at your neck crease, let it rest back. Breathe into the low back ribs against the ball. Now put your hands on your lowest rib ring and lift it away from your pelvis. Now keep that length, let your hands go, and continue to breathe into the low back ribs. Shoulder blades on the back, heart open, gaze out at the horizon or up towards the mountaintop. Now, if you're not back bending, you stay here with an accentuated lift of the heart and inner collarbones, not by flaring the ribs away from the ball. Keep the back ribs into the ball. Lift the heart center, lift the inner collarbones. Everybody try that. Keep the low back ribs back. Lift the heart center, lift the inner collarbones. That's good core work. I hope you can feel it. You can put your hands down there and palpate. You'll be like, oh yeah, that's work. Okay. So now those of you who can back bend, interlace your fingers behind your head, thumbs at the base of the skull, and lift the base of the skull. Those of you who don't back bend could do this part too. You lift it and lengthen. Some of you will be able to rest your head back into your hands, lift the elbows skyward, keep lengthening up through the rib cage, just opening the upper back a little bit. Ground your sit bones. Tailbone reaches earthward. Pubic bone and tailbone stay level. We're not rolling back on our buttocks. Some of you will want to stay here to support the head. Some can let the arms go and lengthen into a seated back bend. And then exhale, come up, release the ball. You may want to sit a little farther forward on your chair to do the seated core work. Let your elbows rest into water. Take a deep inhale and lean back. Really feel navel in and up, lift of that front pelvic floor, and lift one arm. And release it back down. And lift the other. And release it back down. Think of that long spine pressing up into the TheraBand earlier. Press up into the TheraBand. Think of the ball behind your back. Breathe into the ball. And now sit up tall. Reach your arms skyward. And exhale, let them release like wings. And inhale them up like wings and feel yourself three-dimensionally. And exhale, release. One more time. Inhale, fill the torso. Exhale, release. Bring the arms back up. Elbows relax. Float your arms as if they were floating in water and lean back. You keep your natural curves to your spine. And this time, float one leg off the floor and put it back down. The other leg and down. Stay long in your spine. The wind is blowing and the hot air balloon is stretching your spine back behind you, but it's still in its natural curves. We lift one foot and then the other. The navel hugs in towards the spine and up along the spine for support. And inhale, reach for the sky. Exhale, release your wings. Inhale, fill three-dimensionally, wings rise. Exhale, release. Stay long in your spine. Inhale. Exhale. Let your arms come forward. Long spine, lean back. The right arm rises and the left foot rises. And you lower. And we inhale. And exhale. And inhale. And exhale. Now you're doing cross-body work. Fluid breath. Feel how your core wants to be the strong place your limbs integrate into. Navel in and up. And inhale, reach for the sky. And exhale, release. And inhale, wings float. And release. As you release, let the humerus bone release from the shoulder girdle. Release. Okay, last set here. We inhale, arms up, rest them in water, and lean back. And really think of that long spine, that hot air balloons tractioning you up from your sit bones. And take your left arm out to the left and bring it to center. Try not to list to the side as your arms move. Try to stay long in the center. Strong up from the lifting pelvic floor, from the navel in and up. And then come back and inhale, reach for the sky. And exhale, arms down to your sides. Arms come up and rest in water. Shoulders relax away from your ears. Hyoid bone rests back. Heart's lifted. We lean back. And we take out the right arm and lift the left foot and come back in. Take out the left arm, lift the right foot and come back in. Now, as you do this, the spine is going to move a little bit, but we just don't want to give in to big motion. We want to stay strong for the limbs to have a foundation to move from. So you don't have to throw the arm really big. The motion could even be small. Try to maintain some integrity there. Navel in and up. And reach for the sky. And exhale, release. Pause for a moment in your seat, feeling into a three-dimensional breath. Okay, so a lot of upper body awareness today. Now let's take it to the floor. Have your ball blocker oov with you, but we're not starting on it yet. So go ahead and lay down. Rest your head on a pillow if that's going to help you bring your hairline and chin even. Make sure that the pillow isn't pushing up on your cervical spine. And then lay yourselves down. Izzy wants to be a part of it. Okay. Fluid breath. She can tell we're getting ready to go on a trip, so she's a little nervous. Okay, float one leg into your tabletop. Float the foot down, light as a feather. Exhale, float the next leg up. Inhale, down, light as a feather. Shoulder girdle broad. Exhale, up and inhale, down. Exhale, up and inhale, down. Exhale, one leg up and pause. Activate your navel back in towards the spine. Do not flatten the spine. And exhale the next leg up. Hug your knees towards each other. Just hug them towards midline. Lift your pelvic floor. Keep your lumbar curve. And now take the left leg out to the left like the page of a book. Exhale it to center. Right leg out to the right. Exhale it to center. Remember, you can lift on a low blanket or a low block here if your lumbar spine is being compressed into the floor. We inhale out and we exhale in. We inhale out and exhale in. If you come up with your pelvis, you need to lower your pillow. Inhale out, exhale in. Now put your thumbs on your lowest ribs and your fingers on your hip pointers. And try to keep this square very still. So it's not about how far the leg can come out. We don't want the other side to follow the leg. We want to be able to ground the low back ribs on the opposite side. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. And hug your knees into your chest. And circle them wide apart and back together again. So yeah, you're just circling your legs wide apart and back together again, getting that synovial fluid moving in the hip joint. And then take your circles the other way. Fluid breath. And then come back up. Shoulders broad on the mat. Head resting back, jaw and eyes relaxed. Toe dip. One foot towards the floor. Remember, we don't bring it down to touch. And exhale it back up. We inhale down. Exhale up. The exhaling up, we want to draw the navel back in towards the spine and up. We're giving the body support to draw this heavy leg back up. We inhale and exhale, draw it up. Inhale, use your exhale to help it up. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. Good. Now draw your right knee into the chest. Your left hand goes on the inner knee. Your right hand goes on the right ankle. The left leg extends long. Remember, we want it higher than lower. We don't want it way down by the floor. That will strain the back. And then we switch legs. Outside hand to the ankle, inside hand to the knee. And we switch and switch. We nod our nose towards our mouth gently and almost lift from the hairline, long spine. Some of us will lift up and look towards the knees, and we stretch and stretch. That hot air balloon still lifts us from the center palate and helps us lengthen the spine. Push the toe out, lengthening the leg like you're going to push a button way out there. Those of you who used to come to the studio, remember we used to reach the foot for the wall and touch it. Reach and reach and reach and reach and come in and rest the head back and lift your hands and feet towards the sky. Zip up the inner thighs. Draw the navel back in and up. Ground your low back rib ring and take your wrists away from your ankles. Circle the arms, the heels stay glued together, and hug your knees in towards your armpit. We reach wrists away from ankles, and then we hug the knees in. You only go as far out and as low as your low rib ring can stay grounded. You can stay aware of your bandhas. So lower isn't better if you're flaring your ribs. Okay, lower is more likely to cause injury. We inhale and exhale. One more. Inhale and exhale. And then come back to your tabletop. You can come back to a single leg toe dip, or you can broaden your shoulders, rest them back, ground your ribs, and do a double foot toe dip. Inhaling down, exhale up. Try your pursed lip exhale. Really activating that corset muscle, navel back towards spine. But don't overdo it. No gripping, just active. Shoulders relaxed back on the ground. You're working from your core, from the low ribs down to the inner thighs. Last one. Inhale down and exhale up, and hug the knees into your chest and circle them together around and feel the perimeter of your sacrum. So when your knees are to each side, you're actually massaging along your SI joints. And if one of those is tender, then that gives you some insight into any kind of body issues you might be having. So we roll around the outer edges of the sacrum, getting to know, this is kind of the center arrowhead that supports my spine. That arrowhead comes down between your two ilium bones of the pelvis. Good. And so, where were we? Okay, float your hands behind your head. Remember, it's one hand on top of the other. We don't interlace the fingers here. And exhale, reach your right elbow towards the sky, your right leg long. Rest your head back into your hands. Let the elbow be reaching, let the arms work, let the head rest. And switch. Reach with the left elbow and the left leg, pause. Find your navel drawing in and up, and switch. Find your pelvic floor, and we move and reach and stretch the leg and reach the elbow, stretch the leg and reach the elbow. Head rests back. Fluid. Really trying to find that strength of that reaching elbow and that lengthening leg. Now we've gotten into our obliques, but we still want that internal core awake. And we come back to center and release the head and float one foot gently to the floor and then the other. And pause with your three-dimensional breath. Fluid breath. And before we go into a bridge, let's release before we go onto our ball blocker oov, release your head from the pillow, elbows alongside your body, palm facing palm over the torso. Now press down your elbows and lift your shoulder. Feel that. We don't want that. Press your shoulder down and lift your elbow. We don't want that either. We want the shoulder coming back and the elbow coming back evenly along the bone of the humerus of the arm. And then lift your pelvis. And exhale, pelvis releases, and inhale, lift. Your gaze should be able to stay perpendicular to the floor. So we're not looking towards our knees and flattening the back of our neck. Likewise, we're not jutting the chin skyward. Our gaze is straight up. And we lift the pelvis and lower, and then lift and pause. Draw your sit bones towards each other. It's kind of a gentle squeeze of the buttocks, and release. Magnetize the sit bones together and release. And 3 more times. Hug and release, hug and release, hug and hold. So while you're doing this, you're waking up your glutes. So feel into your buttocks. Oh, these are my glutes. Really feel them wake up. And then release. And then you can either float your pelvis down or roll down 1 vertebrae at a time, trying to release each section of the spine on its own. Roll into your natural curve, and then roll up, exhaling. Peel your sacrum off the floor, and then your spine coming up into your high bridge. Take a deep inhale. And then exhale, and slowly roll down 1 vertebrae at a time. And pause back in constructive rest. Okay, let's reach for our ball blocker oov and bring it in under our sacrum. Make sure that you aren't in a back bend over your prop, that you can draw your ribs towards your hip pointers. And float 1 leg into tabletop. Activate your navel in towards your spine. Draw the other leg into tabletop. Hug your legs together. And then take your left leg out to the left like the page of a book. And exhale it to center. And right leg out to the right. Use your arms, not just the elbow, but the whole arm to the shoulder blade. Use that myofascial awareness to help you stabilize the opposite hip, or the same side hip. Well, what you're doing is you're connecting the shoulder that you're relying on to the opposite pelvis, because those are the 2 still points across the body. Fluid breath. Same side arm as the leg that's moving helps you stabilize, but it connects across to the opposite hip on the ball blocker oov, which also is helping you stabilize. Good. And then lift your legs straight up to the sky. Take them wide, down the mat. Really use your navel together and up. Open down. Navel comes in and up and up. Out, down. Pelvic floor lifts and up. Out, down, and up. 1 more circle and pause. Now put your hands right on your front abdominals so that your thumbs are near your ribs, your fingers are down past your navel, kind of towards your pubic bone. Take your feet down towards the floor and feel how everything engages. Open the legs and come up. So just kind of feel the action in your abdominals and really try to support it by drawing the navel in and up and lifting the front triangle of the pelvic floor. Nice. Don't go too low and don't use momentum. So try to use slow motion. You can throw these limbs around and then you're not having to use the core quite the same way. You're using it more in a slingshot action. So slow it down. Yeah, use your core. There you go. Beautiful. Come back together. Open your right leg up overhead, left leg long, and pulse, pulse, and switch. Pulse, pulse, and switch. Pulse, pulse, switch. Pulse, pulse, switch. Keeping your hands on your abdomen is really interesting because you'll feel how the muscles kind of shift, but they're still really working to support you. And you're working on your balance at the same time. Now take this right into riding a bicycle overhead. So let your legs bicycle. Really try to extend the lengthening leg out. So one knee comes towards your chest. When it rises towards the sky and lengthens, really follow that length towards the floor. Now, if you can keep your navel in and up and your low back rib ring grounded, some of you will be able to bring that lengthening leg toe to the floor to just gently come up the floor. That's not required. I'm just telling you that that's the direction we're heading, is to find that long leg that the foot kind of gently skims the floor. Low rib ring resting back. And that sort of depends on the height of your prop. You wouldn't be skimming the floor if you were on a barrel in Pilates. But that's the idea, long leg. Now let's bicycle backwards. Long leg. And you don't have to skim the foot on the floor here. But you still want to reach it out and long. Keep that navel helping you. Shoulders are broad. Face relaxed. Good. And then come back up to the top and bend your knees in towards your chest slightly and just rest. Three-dimensional breath. Breathing into the back body. Relaxing on the exhales. And then let's do one more thing here. Let's go walking. So take your big toe ball bound into the arch of the other foot. And then switch and switch and walk your heels towards the floor as you switch and switch and switch and switch. Stop wherever it's best for you to stop, where you can stay grounded, and then walk back up. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and down. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and up. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and down. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and up. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Last one. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Stay here. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Once more. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And up. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And rest your knees in towards your chest. And let one foot come down over your prop, landing light as a feather. And then the other foot. And then stretch one leg long over your prop. Your arms can come out into a T, or they can come long overhead. Now, if you're not back bending, you'd want to block out there a footstool that you could rest your leg on, because the stretch of the psoas pathway might still be nice if you can sustain a bridge, but you'd want your foot up. If you are back bending, the foot can come down to the floor. Fluid breath. Really breathe deep into the pelvis. Exhale, lengthen the inner thigh away from the same side spine. So you're stretching the psoas now from inner thigh up the side of the spine. Really breathe into that awareness from your inner thigh through the pelvis to the spine. And then relax. Walk that leg back in and extend the other leg out. Deep breath. Exhale, relax. Stretch the inner thigh away from the same side spine. Deep breath. Let the breath massage the muscle. Relax and open. And then step the foot in, bring the arms back, lift up off your prop and release. Now here, if you're not twisting, you can just come back into lifting and lowering your pelvis. If you are twisting, take your knees as wide as the mat, open your arms to a T, and let your knees fall to the left. Let your left ear fall a little towards the left shoulder in a side bend, and then let your head gently turn towards the right hand. Reach out through the right knee. Again, opening the right pelvis. Take some deep breaths into any component of the body that's stretching. Try to relax it on the exhale. And then come back to center and take the knees to the other side. Side bend your right ear towards your right shoulder, and then let the head turn left. Reach out through the left knee. Breathe into the stretch. So we're releasing the psoas pathway after all that work you just did. And come back to center. Now I know some of you are interested in hip stretches and piriformis stretches. So let's bring our long TheraBand in and bring it up over our big toe ball mound. Okay. And our pinky toe ball mound. So you want to be able to press into those ball mounds, not just the kind of arch of your foot. That'll help you stop yourself from sickling the foot. Make your TheraBand pretty even. And then take your right leg long, hold on to the strap over your left foot. Lengthening out, open the right arm to the side, ground the right shoulder, ground the right wrist, and take the left foot out to the left. Ground your right low ribs. Only go as far as is comfortable in your body. Really try to stay grounded. It's not about how far you can open and having your right torso follow your left leg. It's about grounding back away from the left leg. And then exhale to center. Take the strap in your right hand. Bring your left hand to the top of your left leg and press the left leg and sit bone down towards the foot of the mat. And take this left leg just a few inches across the body and flex and point. And you might start feeling, oh, there's my IT band. Kind of up the side leg, you may feel kind of a tight tissue stretch. You may feel your outer hamstrings, your calves, your knees. And then you may be able to press the left hand into the femur and bring the left foot a little closer to your head and then be like, oh yeah, there's the stretch. And then release that and take the leg another inch or two across the body. Flex and point, flex and point. And then perhaps another inch across the body. Notice how the stretch shifts. Try not to let the left hip come up towards the left armpit. Come as far across as you can, keeping the left pelvis on the floor. Flexing and pointing, playing with how high you can lift your foot towards your head without doing anything big in motion. And then come back to center. Now take the TheraBand in one side in each hand. And take the left foot across towards the right shoulder, down towards the right foot, and out the left side in a circle. And circle, excuse me, and circle, and circle. Really stretch up into your big toe ball mound and pinky toe ball mound. And now come out towards the pinky toe side, down, around, and up. So this is really healthy for the hip joint. It gets synovial fluid moving in the hip. Remember, the circle can be small and it can get larger, but you don't want to lose your core awareness as the leg moves out to the left. Keep grounding the right low ribs. Use the navel back in and up. Come back up to center and draw your left knee in towards your left armpit. And then switch legs. You can do that by lifting one leg into the TheraBand if you like. And then placing the other foot on the floor. Extend the left leg long on the floor. Take the TheraBand into the right hand. Left arm to the left. Ground your left low ribs, your left pelvis, and take the right leg to the right. You can pretend like you're stepping the left foot onto a wall. Activate the four corners of the leg. That will also help you stabilize. Fluid breath. The navel in and up can really help you ground here. If you just try to reach the low back ribs back, you might feel like you're straining across the torso. And then exhale back up to center. Take the TheraBand in the left hand, right hand to your hip crease, press the right femur bone down towards the foot of the mat, and just bring the foot across a few inches and flex and point. Notice what's stretching. And then with the hips still on the floor, come across a little farther. Perhaps you draw the foot towards the head, releasing the head of the femur bone down towards the foot of the mat. That's where you're going to get your hamstring stretch and the back of the knee stretch. And then come a little farther across, rocking the foot, pointing and flexing. Breathing into the hip. Come as far across as is comfortable in your body. Pelvis still on the mat. We're really trying to get into these deep hips and this outer fascial tissue and the hamstrings. And then come back to center. Hold the TheraBand in both hands. Take the right foot towards the left shoulder, down towards the left foot, and out to the right. As the foot comes out to the right, ground the left shoulder, the left low ribs, and pelvis. Step the left foot onto an imaginary wall. And notice how much more stable you can make your body. And then it feels so good to me to have the femur bone stirring in the hip socket. If it doesn't feel good to you, go a little smaller and see if that's better. Over time, the circles may get larger, but they don't have to be large. And then take the circles the other way towards the pinky toe side. Just opening the hips. Fluid breath. Grounding the left side body. And come back to center and bend the left knee in towards the left armpit. The right knee in towards the right armpit. Stretch the left leg long. And then release. Pause in your constructive rest just for a moment. Nodding your tailbone towards the floor and then your tailbone towards the sky. Just let your pelvis rock. You did a lot of good work in the hips there. And let's roll over and come on to hands and knees. So now let's do a little cross body work here. Okay. Remember, if your wrists are an issue, you could come onto forearms on blocks here or on a footstool. Spread your fingers pretty evenly. Ground your knees and shins. And then imagine a vase of flowers sitting on top of your sacrum. You want it to stay still as you take the left shin out to the left like the dog at a fire hydrant. Keep the back of your neck long. And lower the left leg down and lift it back up, keeping that vase of flowers still on your sacrum. So you won't lift as high as you can, but you're going to really feel that front abdominal core working. Tailbone reaches away from head. Navel in and up. And bring the left leg back down. Now stabilize again. Find your bandhas. And lift the right leg out to the right. Feel what has to work in your upper body. And lower the legs. Now, if you want to take a little work out of the shoulders, you can come to fingertips. And then you won't be so hard on your arms. Okay? Go up and down with the leg. Remember, we don't want too big a movement because we want to keep that vase of flowers still on our sacrum. You'll feel more abdominal work if you're not throwing the pelvis up. And then come back down. Now take your left fingers out to the left and float your left shoulder blade onto the back. If you'd like to, take your right leg out to the right, dog at the fire hydrant. and feel a connection between the lifted shoulder blade and the lifted buttock leg. And then come back down. Take your right fingertips out. Float your right shoulder blade onto your back. Remember, your wrist is lower than your shoulder here. Feel how your side abdominals work here. If you'd like, take the left leg out like a dog at a fire hydrant. Feel into connecting that lifted shoulder blade to that lifted buttock. And release. And inhale a cow. And exhale a cat. And just let yourself roll into your cow. And roll into your cat. Fluid breath. Inhaling the stretch. Exhaling, navel lifts towards spine, spine towards sky. Press the hands away from the knees. Inhale, draw the hands towards the knees. Fluid breath. Now pause with your spine up in your hissing cat and take your spine down to the left, belly down towards the floor and spine up to the right like it's a jump rope. And you're circling the jump rope of the spine. Just letting it release and open. Come to the top and take the jump rope the other way. Fluid motion, fluid breath. Let yourself become more like water now. And coming to center, bring your big toes together. Let your sit bones come back. Now, if this child's pose hurts your arm, let your arm come down to your sides. Your elbows can bend, they can come in. Your arms could be by your legs. Those of you who can stay long, let your body stay long. Walk gently out to one side and stretch the opposite side body. Fluid breath. And then walk the other way. Doesn't have to be far. You're just trying to stretch the fascia of the side body. And then come in. You can either roll up to a downward dog or come through tabletop to standing. Come up to your downward dog if you can, if that's accessible in your body. Bend your knees, sit bones back, long spine. And step feet towards hands, hands towards feet. Bend the knees and unhinge. Come up to standing. Come back to the beginning. Place your tongue on the roof of your mouth. Find that place where the hard and soft palates meet and let the hot air balloon lift you skyward. Place your hands on your low rib ring and lift your low rib ring, including the back of the low rib ring, skyward. And then keeping that length in your waist, release your hands. Shoulder blades on the back, let your head rest back. And click your heels together. Let the knees bend. And zip the legs up, lift the pelvic floor, navel in and up. Knees bend, keep your bandhas and lift. Knees bend, keep your bandhas and lift. Knees bend, float your heels off the floor so you're on the balls of your feet. And zip it up and lower down. Now everybody look down at your feet. Imagine you were going to put a tennis ball right between your big toes. Let your feet be in a little bit of a V like that. And if that doesn't work in your feet, then keep your feet parallel, heels under your sit bones, okay? Leaning back, we bend the knees, we lift the heels, we zip up the legs and lower the heels. We bend, lift the heels, zip it up and lower. Bend, lift, zip and lower, and bend, lift, zip and lower. Now lift and hover. Let that hot air balloon lift you. Lift that low rib ring. Bend your knees, lower your heels, and zip it up. Lift. Bend your knees, lower your heels, zip it up. Lift to the balls. Bend the knees, lower the heels, zip it up. One more. Lift. Bend, lower, and zip. Lift your rib ring. Let the hot air balloon lift your center pellet. Grow an inch. Root your feet into the floor. And then inhale. And draw into this great awareness and concentration you've had for the practice today. Draw into a strong and flexible body that can move with ease. And draw into a fabulous Friday and a wonderful weekend for all of you. All right. Thank you, everyone. So Grace, I just want to ask you at the end of class how that was for you, but I also want to let you know that I'm gone next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And then Friday, I'm going to have a substitute. So there are some videos on YouTube if you want to check those out during the week. And then that won't count as one of your days. Grace is new to our studio. She purchased a Pilates thing by Jory at an auction. Thank you. And so she's given this a try. Yeah. So welcome. Bye, Judy. How was?
Bye, Grace. It's a lot of fun. Really good classes. Thanks, Tracy.
You're welcome. Okay. Thanks a lot, Vicki. So Grace, how was it? Here, wait. You're still muted. Let's see. Can you figure out how to? Yeah.
I thought it was good. I think I need to get one of those blocks. And I have these adjustable weights, and I couldn't figure out how to get it down to just the hands. So that was how to figure that out.
Okay.
Because it wasn't hard. And part of it, I thought I was going to be no problem with that weight. But there was one question I had during class. I'm trying to remember at one point, we were doing something with our leg, and I wasn't sure if I was supposed to try to keep both sides of my hip down.
Yeah.
So is it okay to ask a question during class, or?
Yeah, you can come up and ask a question. So was it when we were laying back like this and we were taking the leg across? Do you remember?
I don't remember what it was, but I think it was a little more active.
Okay. The circles, maybe?
I think when we were turning, when we were rolling, you know?
The circles? The circles? Yeah. So your leg,
One leg,
right.
is the other opposite side supposed to be down on the ground, or is it okay?
That's a very good question. When you're doing your circles, when you're over here with your leg, it can lift off this side. But when you're over here, you don't want this to lift off. So this can roll over, that's fine. This can lift off. But when you're out to the side, you want to ground this side.
Okay. So whenever we're doing the one leg squat in the air, the hip should be nailed to the ground.
Yeah, you want to keep that hip down because what we're training the body is to stabilize for movement. So that one leg, when the leg's way out here, we want this side of the body to be grounding it. So we ground from the low ribs and the pelvis. So don't just think of it as tacking the pelvis down. Really what's going to help you is to tack down right here. Because that's your square, that's your core. So you can bring that side of the body down. Yeah. And yeah, and
I mean, I had obviously I want to do it, so I was trying to follow along. I probably should have paid a little more attention to how things were working. But I think I can definitely, I think it's perfect for what I'm after. But I need to get one of those blocks for sure.
Yeah. So you can get those, you could get a block at Big Five in.
Yeah, I have to be down there today. I have an appointment at 11 down there in that area, so I'll stop by and see if they have one.
Great.
I think that would be a big help.
Yeah.
But I thought it was great. I thought it was perfect. I mean, last night I could feel my corset muscles. Definitely get better workout.
Good.
So, it's going to help me achieve my goals. So I definitely want to. Maybe I should check out the Wednesday class as well.
Yeah, the Wednesdays, it's just a little slower moving. And today, this was kind of a slow moving Friday class because I always kind of pay attention to who comes. you know, and you were new and I had someone with a spinal injury in the class today. So I slowed us down a little bit. I hope I still gave people a good workout. Sounds like it. Judy usually likes it to go faster and harder, and she still sounded like she liked it today. So, yeah. So yeah, try the Wednesdays. I just wanted you to know this week I'm gone, but really feel free to look at it's Full Life Yoga Studio. If you actually just go to my website, fulllifeyogastudio.com, then then you can go to the YouTube channel right from there. It's on that first page, and you know, there's a whole bunch, and there's some short ones that you might like just like a 20-minute teach you the series of 5 kind of Pilates class, and those might help you kind of learn some of what we're doing too.
That sounds like a great idea. I do like the idea of a scheduled class though, because I could see where it kind of forces me to do it.
Yeah.
At a certain time.
Totally. No, and I would love you to, yeah, I'd love you to come to the scheduled class. I just feel bad because you started right when I'm going on a trip, and I don't do that very often.
That's okay. I'll check out the YouTube, and I'll see you when you get back. Have a great trip.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, so I'll be back week after next. Okay, have a wonderful week, Grace.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye.